We're on to the final presentation now, and we have Mike Hellers, who has kindly agreed to do a, well, you're going to do a bit of a demo, aren't you?
It's never going to go wrong, is it?
Yes, so this is for the LINX product update.
Yeah, trying to do a live demo, always a bad idea, but hey. So yes, after Ricardo talked quite a lot about all the changes that we have been doing on the portal, especially in relation to ordering services, but also visibility of your services. So he talked a lot about the back-end work that has happened, and I thought, well, I complete that picture. But actually, for those who haven't tried it yet, showing you a little bit of a live demo on the portal, how you can order services, and some of the other functionality which is there by now. I'm going to switch a little bit between the production portal and our internal portal for some of the tests. I'm not gonna tempt my luck in doing an end-to-end provisioning live in front of all of you guys, since that's just asking for trouble. But here we go. Let's see what we can do. I assume everybody in here has a login to the portal and has used our portal and has logged in. If not, if you're a member and you don't have access to the portal, make sure you get access to the portal. There is always two approaches. You obviously have your existing services, you can do modifications to your existing services, or you can order new services. At the moment, a lot of the work, a lot of the focus of the work that has happened is all around port-based services. So your ports, your peering service, private VLAN, closed user group. Some of the other services that we provide, PI, private interconnect, and colocation, is still using the legacy portal, but there's going to be work coming on those as well. I'm sure all of you know, you can, if you go to services, you will see all of your ports, and you will see all of your ports with the services that are on them, and you can make modifications to it, and the modifications are a little bit dependent on what the service is, i.e. if it's a physical port, you can you can cancel the port. We don't want you to do that. You can move the port to a new location if you want to. If it's a peering service, i.e. your connection to the peering LAN, you can go, let me see if I find one which actually has a peering service on it. You can use this to change your MAC address, and that will happen in self-service, and it will be done straight away. But more importantly, if you want to order new services, you go to orders. You can also get to it from the services page, as you might have seen there. You can just add new port service, but by definition, you go to order a new service, request a new service, and then you have an overview of all the services that we have. Obviously, the most important one is port access. That's one way of ordering a new port. You can do it through here. The second approach is to actually just order a peering service, which then is going to ask you, do you want to order a new port to deliver this peering service on? So let's go through an example a little bit and show you how it works and what you can do. We did add a reminder that if you want to modify an existing service, don't just order a new one. Go to the existing service and modify it. This all takes into account the service that are actually available, so you can only choose services that are possible, i.e. in this case 1 gig, 2 gig, 5 gig, 10 gig, multiples of 10 gig. It takes into account some more unusual ones, i.e. 30 gig. Well, you have two options. You can order 30 gig by ordering 3 times 10 gig, but you can also order 30 gig peering service on a 100 gig port. And it will give you that in this case if I choose actually a peering LAN, since the pricing would be dependent on the peering LAN. It will show you immediately as you go through your order. It will show you what the charges are going to be, what you're going to see, and the same if I do it 30 gig over 100 gig. It will tell you right away what you can expect. And if you go through the order, and you can do this at any point in time, you don't have to complete the order if you're not sure what the costs are going to be. If you're a bit confused about the pricing, just go there, put in what you want to order, the number of ports you want to order, and go through the order. In this case, well, it doesn't really matter. You choose your ASN, all the normal stuff. So that's all. Hopefully relatively straightforward. If we take some of the newer services, we go back to the beginning, and if I want to order a private VLAN, again, same approach. To go through it, I define my bandwidth, I choose my bandwidth amongst the ones that we have currently available. So it's 200 meg. It will show you a list of your ports that you could potentially use to deliver the service. It means it's a port that is configured as what we call multi-service, which really means it's a trunk port, .1Q enabled. So you can choose an existing port, or as part of your order, you can just order a new port access. Again, it will show you the pricing, what to expect. If you change the bandwidth, it will show you the pricing. We'll update the pricing accordingly. If we go to the next step, with pretty much all of the service by now, we let you put your own name into it, which could be your internal reference, or if it's a private VLAN, a closed user group, you might have a specific use case, so you can use that name. That name will show up on the invoice, it will show up in the list of services. You obviously choose your VLAN ID, and importantly, since it's private VLAN, we need the second member, the other endpoint of your private VLAN. So the way this is implemented, you can either, if you know the member name, not sure we're gonna pick, doesn't really matter, since I'm not gonna complete the order. If you don't put a contact email address in, we'll just send it to whoever is the guardian for that member. If you know the person, most cases you probably know the person you talk to. You put his email address in, it will actually check that it's a valid email address, meaning we have that contact in our system. If not, leave it empty and we'll send it to the guardian. Yeah, so it's not going to work. And importantly, so this in this case, since I've chosen a port which already is multi-service, so the port is already configured as trunk port, so there's actually no, it's only a logical change to enable this private VLAN. So in this case, we're telling you that this actually will be a self-service order, so the provisioning will get done as soon as you submit it, and assuming the provisioning is successful, it will also trigger the billing for that service. And at the same time, what's going to happen, there's going to be, well, we call it an invite, which has been sent to the other member to basically tell him, well, this member, myself, I want to establish a private VLAN with you. Do you want to accept it? And just to show you as an example, so this is now on. So besides the member B will have received an email, you will have received an email about the status, but member B will also see in his portal, he will see that there is an order which is awaiting the invite to be accepted. So in that case, he can go onto it, he can decide, use my own port, or he might be using a reseller. To do it, if he uses my own port, he gets the exact same thing. He can choose his port where he wants it, where he wants to terminate that private VLAN. He can't change the bandwidth. It's private VLAN. Bandwidth has been defined by the member, myself, who has ordered it. So member B obviously can't change that. And once he does it, again, if it's if he orders a new port, it will be a manual provisioning. Obviously, if he has a port which has bandwidth available, it will be self-service order and will be done immediately. Let me go back to very similar if you want to order a closed user group. Works pretty much the exact same way, with the exception for the closed user group, so multiple members joining one layer 2 domain. You don't have to immediately invite somebody, so you order your closed user group once it's ready. And again, let me pick an example. Let me see what we prepared before. If we actually look at, so this is a test user, which has loads of closed user groups. Well, let's see this one for an example, and just to use the opportunity to show you what you actually see. So if you own a closed user group, and you will see it in your portal, you see who's connected to it. So you see member 2 is myself, and I have 2 other members connected to it. I can expand here and can see a graphical view. You can see the actual bandwidth that the other people on the closed user group, how much their traffic is. But as you see, I also have a button here which is invite. So that works exact same way as it works for private VLAN. So again, I can at any point in time, I can just ask any other member, do you want to join my closed user group? Whatever traffic you generate across that, whatever you use it for. Ask them to join it, they will get the invite, they can decide if they want to reject it or accept it. What else can I show you on the portal? That's the majority of the changes. And as Ricardo mentioned, so at the moment, what's completed is all of the ordering of new services. For our connections partners, resellers, there's ordering of new services and some modifications of existing services that is implemented. And what's going to follow over the next quarters is the same functionality. So modification of all, if you have a private VLAN, change the bandwidth, all of or cancel the service. All of those things are going to get added over the coming months in the new year, first thing in the new year. That's the portal. I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to show around here. Feel free to try it, as long as you don't submit the order at the final point. It's always going to tell you at the final page if it's going to be a self-service order or if it's going to be manual processed. And again, to show you some examples here, if I go to the order page, I'm sure. Yeah, actually, just an example, what you see if an order has completely goes through, and you will see it being updated as it goes through the different steps. It will always show you, especially if it's self-service one, it will always show you all of the different steps and if they have passed or not. And it will, of course, also tell you if it has failed, which hopefully doesn't happen very often. And if it's an order which is not self-service, you will just see them here as manual processing. So it will still show you all of the details of your order, but it will tell you that, well, this is not self-service. It's going to get processed by the NOC. Certain services would first go through approval by the sales team before they get passed on to the NOC. But it will tell you that status. But yeah, I think that covers it, maybe, unless if somebody has a specific question, we can cover that here before I go to the rest of the slides. Mark, if somebody brings you a microphone.
Hello, I'm Mark, not LINX, up.
This is all new for you, and that didn't exist when you...
No, it didn't, and it wasn't on LON 2 either, when I was obviously with LINX. Is it on there now?
Sorry?
Can you do private VLANs over LAN too?
Private VLAN should work over LAN too. So if I go to, so I'm on production portal. Let's go to orders, request new service, let's order private VLAN. And all of these things are as dynamic as we can do, i.e. If services are available on a specific peering LAN, you will only get the option for those peering LANs. So hopefully, if I do new port access and I say, you see, I can choose LAN 1, LAN 2, Manchester, Nova, which are currently the 4 peering LANs where I can order private VLAN. So I can order a new port here and go on. If I would have a port here, so all of these, since I'm logged in as LINX, so these are both LAN 1 ports. So if I choose one of these, it will automatically be LAN 1. So that doesn't help me. But if I do other services, let's take, for example, let's take the Azure peering service. And we'll see how good we've done testing.
Live demo, eh?
So that obviously should, the only selection that it should allow me to do at the moment is LAN 1, since that's the only place. And there we go. So that should hopefully, well, I'm not going to guarantee that everything's perfect, but it should all be.
To use the LANs for an emergency for their own backbone. And the MOU forbids it still, yes?
Sorry?
The MOU forbids, obviously, members using the LINX as part of their own backbone.
Yeah.
Obviously, in certain circumstances.
If you're patient and wait for one of my slides, you might be surprised.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Portal related? Good. Then we switch back to our slides. So the next couple of slides is really only a quick overview of some of the products, where we are with them now, and some indications of what we plan on doing next year. So first one, LINX Marketplace. It's something we introduced, well, we launched it actually just after LINX117, earlier in this year. We kind of knew it's in this first phase, in this first version, it's very basic, standalone. We launched it with 5 partners, members, participants on it. By now there's 21 on it, with quite a broad selection of services. But as I said, it's all standalone. So what's next is really for next year, we're going to start to look into a much closer integration with the other systems and working with some of the participants with on there, since obviously there's a number of services that are offered through the marketplace that can be delivered across our fabrics, using private VLAN or closed user group. So the idea is that we start to integrate systems allowing you to directly order a service in some cases, ideally in full self-service. So we become the man in the middle, do the provisioning on our network, have the communication with the partner and establish the service. It's going to be a phased, gradual introduction of these services, and we're going to talk much more about that next year. Private VLAN. I think we introduced private VLAN probably in 21, initially only on LAN 1. We added support for Q&Q on it during this year. It mainly came from a bit of a requirement for the Cloud Connect services, but it's also available in private VLAN for those who want it. Obviously, you need to do it when you order the service. By now, it's available on LAN 1, LAN 2, Manchester and Nova, so basically all of the peering LANs, all of the fabrics that are fully under full config automation. And we've just shown you quite a few, so over the year we have done quite a lot of improvements, how you can order these services, what your visibility is of these services. So it is a product which keeps evolving. Where does it go next? We are going to allow private VLANs between the same member port, which I think is what Mark was pointing to. So we are going to allow that. We're going to start to allow it. Well, we're going to launch it in Q1 next year. We're also looking into, and again, it's both of these are based on member demand. Currently, we only allow private VLANs up to 10 gig as maximum bandwidth for a single private VLAN. We are going to allow higher bandwidth ones, but we kind of give the restriction that it might need a capacity check from our point, since private VLAN traffic or closed user group traffic might be a little bit more unpredictable, since we have less visibility. For us, might be more unpredictable, since we have no idea what members do with it, what you people do with it. So we want to be a little bit careful, especially if we're talking high bandwidth, how we track that bandwidth and allocate the bandwidth accordingly. So that's private VLAN. Cloud Connect, we launched with Azure ExpressRoute, AWS Direct Connect, currently only available on one. We added Q&Q support for ExpressRoute for those who need it. And again, we keep on improving the way these can get ordered. And there's some further improvements which are going to come there, which means the full end-to-end self-service for them, meaning the provisioning on our network and the provisioning on the cloud provider side. And we're also looking into, does it make sense for us, is there enough demand to add other cloud providers? And is there interest and is there demand to bring these products to other fabrics? Don't necessarily see a need for it to do it on LON 2, but there might be a need in Manchester or Nova or in Nairobi, who knows? Microsoft Peering Service, same one, kind of falls into Cloud Connect, but isn't really. It's really just Microsoft's way of making it easier for especially small networks to get direct peering with Microsoft, especially if you try to talk to them and they tell you, no, you're too small, you need to have a 10 gig port and you need to have X amount of bandwidth. Microsoft Peering Service does exactly that for you. It's available on LON 1. It is now as part of the changes on the portal. It's full self-service. If you have a port which has bandwidth available, you can establish your peering with Microsoft pretty much in 5 minutes if you want to. We are definitely actively looking in enabling this in other places. Obviously, we're a little bit dependent on Microsoft for that, since there's no point for us to offer it in a city, in a metro, in a region where we don't have a direct connection with Microsoft, since it removes kind of the point of it. But we're working with Microsoft to bring it and enable it in other regions on our other exchanges where it makes sense. And last one, portal. Well, we talked a lot about the portal during today and yesterday, and there is, God, why have I clicked? There is a whole roadmap of features for next year, really, that we're finalizing now. Some of them, it's already clear, it's completing all of the functionality to allow you to make changes to existing services, those missing bits and pieces, and then there's a whole set of additional functionality. Also migrating over some of the functions which still use the old legacy portal, but it's going to continue evolving over time. One of the ones that's going to come, if you have a port which currently is configured as an access port, one of the features going to be allow you in self-service, meaning really when you want to do it in the middle of the night, change your port to trunk port. So use your peering service, move it into a VLAN, and you do it when you are ready to do it. The NOG is of course still available if you need them, but it will allow you to just do it. You can make the change at your end at the same time as you tell us to do the change at our end. And that's all I have for today. Any questions on any of this? No?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike.